Released by Procyon in the year 1998 on the PlayStation, Legend of Legaia would be a unique fighting game fantasy RPG. Directed by Kazuhiro Kobayashi and written by Hidenori Shibao, the game would blend a unique battle system into a 3D space. For characters, the game features a boy named Vaughn alongside allies Noah and Gala, each having their own strengths and movesets. For gameplay, battles are turn-based and held in a 3D space where commands are entered into a menu and actions are played out. Though, the game utilizes a unique tactical arts system wherein entering a combination of high, low, left and right strikes can result in more powerful moves called arts if the right sequence of strikes are entered. Stringing multiple arts together will combo together into more powerful arts as well, and each character has their own library of specific moves and arts. Specific enemies can also be defeated and summoned later as a magical attack or support move. Also, there are a few minigames to be found, including a mini fighting game, monster arena, dancing rhythm game, and a fishing game. A light novel would be written after the game's release, chronicling the adventure from Vaughn's perspective, with more character development for Vaughn, and an ending from the game's multiple endings that will be reflected here. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, we learn that the world of Legaia is made by a god that decided to put humans in charge, but their impulsiveness had almost led to their ruin multiple times. Concerned about that and the relative physical weakness of humans compared to beasts, God gifted the humans with the Seru, powerful creatures made to serve them. When not worn by a human, Seru appear as stone statues, but once equipped, they change forms and grant the wearer unique abilities like super strength or flight. However, one day, a strange mist suddenly covered the land, and the Seru began to rebel against the humans. Most Seru simply animated and killed humans, but those that were attached to a human controlled their minds and turned them into monsters. With no god around to help them, human civilization was on the brink of collapse, as survivors who fled the mist created fringe towns in desolate areas, clinging on to a frail hope that the mist would clear. In the small coastal village of Rim Elm, 14-year-old Vaughn prepares for his coming-of-age ceremony, where he aims to become a recognized hunter and adult in the village. After praying in front of the soothing Genesis tree, he is greeted by his neighbor and love interest, May, and learns that while the mist is not directly dangerous to humans, it still carries a threat of the cursed Seru with them, and for that reason, tall walls have been built around the town. That evening, the hunters come back for the day, and May's father is brought back dead, killed by the Seru when the mist crept back much sooner than expected. Later that night, the entire village is startled awake by the loud beating of something large against their gate, and are more surprised by an imposing figure that suddenly appears, mocking them for their fear and weakness. The man introduces himself as Zeto, telling them the time has come for them to embrace the mist, as a massive Seru blasts through the wall of Rim Elm, and Zeto commands the Seru to destroy the Genesis tree. The Seru now begin attacking and killing the villagers, and Vaughn joins the effort in fighting back as best he can while escorting May to safety. As he approaches the Genesis tree, he notices the mist doesn't get close to it as the tree itself glows with mysterious power. He touches the trunk and feels a warmth from it as a voice speaks out to him, recognizing him as Vaughn. An object now appears before him, introducing itself as Meta, a Rasaru, that's been waiting inside this tree until the right moment. Wishing to also rid the world of the tainted Seru, Meta equips itself to Vaughn, but mentions the mist is currently weakening it, and it needs the power of human spirit to fully revive. The villagers are alarmed that Meta looks exactly like a Seru, but fortunately the elder believes him that a Rasaru is something different. Gathering the townsfolk to the Genesis tree, the townsfolk all pray together, and their wills together gather more strength for the tree. As a result, the tree revitalizes and grows stronger than before, instantly eradicating the Seru in the village, and neutralizing the mist everywhere around Rim Elm. Meta reveals there are more Genesis trees around the Earth waiting to be revived in a similar fashion, and urges Vaughn to embark on a mission to awaken them all and defeat the mist. Before he can answer, Vaughn collapses from exhaustion and rests until the next day. The village pays their respects to the recently departed, and afterwards, the elder lets Vaughn in on a secret that May's mother, Maya, used to work at the nearby Biren Monastery, but they lost contact with her once the mist came 10 years ago. The elder doesn't know if the monastery even survived, so asks Vaughn to travel to the monastery and see if May's mother still lives. Vaughn prepares to head off as May gifts him with his new hunter's clothes, wishes him well and asks him to come back safely. On the road, he hears of Drake Castle also taken over by Seru, and investigating finds its people already corrupted inside, but learns there is a Genesis tree on the nearby Mount Rikuroa. As they begin their climb, Meta points out it senses another Rasaru also on this mountain, as perspective now changes to Noah, a 12-year-old girl raised in the wild under the care of a talking wolf named Terra. She's a fast and competent fighter in her own right, though when her home is also compromised by the mist, Terra guides her to Mount Rikuroa for its Genesis tree. Along the way, Terra shows her the valley where the mist generator is located, though it's too thick for them to approach for now. After defeating a strong foe, Terra reveals to Noah that it actually is a Seru who attached itself to a wolf and chose to save Noah from the mist and raise her. More precisely, it's a Rosaru and is immune to the maddening effects of the mist. Unfortunately, the wolf it is attached to has reached its natural lifespan and will die soon, and Terra along with it. Fortunately, once they make it to the Genesis tree, with its power Terra can transfer to her and help her find her real parents. They arrive, and Terra explains this tree is where it was sleeping until it was waken up by the sound of Noah's crying as an abandoned baby. Suddenly, Zeto now appears, explaining he was the one who originally attacked the camp here and sics a strong Seru on the duo. The Seru beats down the elderly Terra easily, but just in time Vaughn and Meta come in, and Terra not only recognizes Meta but urges Vaughn to help Noah. Together, the two martial artists defeat the tough Seru, and afterwards Meta and Vaughn hurry to revive the Genesis tree. They succeed, and the flourishing tree heals not only the mountain, but the cursed Drake Castle and its possessed inhabitants. With renewed strength, Terra now binds to Noah, enhancing her strength greatly, while imparting to her the mission to join Vaughn and revive the Genesis trees around the world. Returning back to Drake Castle, King Drake expresses his gratitude by opening up the route forward to Biran Monastery, and also encourages them to keep up their mission to destroy the mist. Arriving next at Biran Monastery, they meet with Master Zopu, who retrieves May's mother for him. While she's happy for the reunion, it comes with the sad news of her husband's death. As they give her some space, they speak with the Master Teacher, a 21-year-old man who despises Seru and sees no difference with Rosaru, though the rival teacher Songi covets such strength. Zopu hears of their exploits and lets them know there are actually 2 Genesis trees near the monastery, to which Vaughn and Noah agree to revive them as well. Zopu then orders the Master Teacher to accompany them to one tree, while Songi offers to go to the other tree and secure it for their arrival. To the side, Songi already plots to claim the Rosaru for himself, and after leaving, the group learns of Master Teacher's real name of Gala before heading out themselves. Unfortunately, by the time they arrive, they find the poison of the mist has already killed this Genesis tree, so there is nothing they can do to revive it. Still, they find a Rosaru egg within that can hatch with the power of a healthy Genesis tree, but at that moment they hear a loud sound and see a strange light come from the monastery. Sensing something wrong, they hurry back, finding someone has broken open the doors to the monastery and allowed mist to fill inside. Finding many monks dead, they also find Maya has been possessed by a Seru as well, as Zopu reveals that Songi has betrayed them and brought the mist and Seru here. Songi himself was using a Seru of his own to blast down the monastery walls, and Gala runs off in a rage. Thinking their first step needs to be clearing the mist, Vaughn and Noah focus on going to the other Genesis tree in order to revive it. Gala returns to ask to fight alongside Vaughn, having seen his strength is genuine, though makes a personal request to deal with Songi personally. As they find the Genesis tree, fortunately still alive, Songi interrupts them, knowing they were coming. He admits to destroying the monastery and looks forward to finally defeating his rival Gala. Gala duels him alone but is hopelessly overpowered, and Songi laughs at the difference in their power now, leaving to tend to other business. Vaughn and Noah waste no time in reviving the Genesis tree, and between the vitalization of the 3 trees so far, they have revealed the mist generator between them. In addition, the energy hatches the Rosaru egg with them, which chooses Gala as its bearer, and throwing away his Biran teachings of forsaking Seru tools, Gala accepts the partnership for the sake of defeating the greater threat. The Rosaru Ozma introduces itself and acknowledges Gala's reluctance, telling him it trusts him and hopes he will learn to trust it in time. Checking back with the monastery, everyone who is possessed has returned to normal, and for that Zopu is grateful, but unfortunately must banish Gala as a monk for breaking their Biran vow on Seru. Gala understands the consequences of his choice, but is still committed to ending the mist, and Zopu still thinks of Gala and Songi as sons despite them adopting Seru. Now heading to the mist generator, they find it to be an unusual factory-like castle, and within are intercepted by Songi yet again. Gala insists on a mano-a-mano duel, since the playing field with Seru is leveled again. Still drunk on his power, Songi accepts, but when beaten back decides to call it a draw and settle things another day. He pulls away, but not before warning them Zeto is guarding this castle personally. Moving ahead, Terra claims the mist generator is a product of humans' evil desires, but Zeto now appears to insist it instead delivers harmony and salvation. Transforming into a larger monster, both sides clash, but Zeto is in disbelief at his loss. He mentions the Prince Court before shattering, and combined, the 3 Rosaru demolish the mist generator. They celebrate their victory, but Terra reminds them this is not the only mist generator, and they must now pursue the people creating them. They turn to leave, missing behind them as Seru shattering is scattering away. Returning to the monastery, Zopu mentions there is still mist to the north, so there is likely a generator there too. He is grateful to Gala for his efforts and asks him to save Songi now, suspecting his Seru is rooted in another evil. Maya then decides to head back to Rim Elm on her own, and heading out for themselves, the group agrees to follow the lead of Vaughn. While they travel, Noah has dreams in which he hears a voice that claims to be her mother and says she's at the source of the mist along with her father. When the group is forced to rest at an old witch's inn, they all have a strangely realistic dream together in which a being named Hari reaches out to them from a world between the dream world and human world. He urges them to go to the ancient city of Octum, far away in the Sebikis Islands, and learn the true meaning of all the strange dreams they've been having. For herself, Noah is very motivated to see Hari, as they learn that Hari is rumored to be a reincarnation of Rem, the god of time. As they make their way to the Sebikis Islands, they find the town of Jeremy and free its cursed citizens by reviving the Genesis tree in town. As the group gets stronger, the townsfolk cheer for their new heroes and continue their travels to the hot springs town of Vidna. There, they meet a priestess who states that Hari foresaw their arrival there and tasked her to deliver a message to them on how to obtain a special key called the Star Pearl. Making it to Octum next, they find it is covered by mist, but this time there doesn't seem to be a Genesis tree nearby. Instead, they find a mysterious temple, and after solving the riddle within, they are surprised to be met by someone else down here. The mysterious thief Kara greets them, and admits she's there to take whatever valuables she can find, as the townsfolk all flood the mist here into an underground shelter. However, there are no valuables here, except for the Star Pearl, which she already sold off to the jeweler in Jeremy. She runs off now as Gala wonders how she survives in the mist without a Rosaru, and the group returns to Jeremy. Since the jeweler owes them for a favor, he hands it over, and the group now heads to the Gate of Shadows per Hari's riddle. Waiting for them there is a masked warrior boldly introducing himself as Guy Delilas, who wanted to check out the group that defeated Zeto. He challenges Vaughn to a one-on-one duel, but his sister Lou and brother Che interrupt him to let him know they have work to do elsewhere. Postponing their match for now, the Delilases leave, and the group unlocks the entrance to the underground Octum with the Star Pearl. Finding the hidden village and residents, they reveal they have been here for the last 10 years ever since the mist appeared, though earthquakes here present a different sort of lingering threat. They hear that Hari has recently awoken from a long slumber and join the rest of the town in his palace of meditation. They find there are actually 3 Haris here, one a teller of the past, one of the present, and one of the future. The Hari of the past reveals that beyond the human world lies Seru Kai, the home of the Seru. Their worlds are linked, but separate, as an accident allowed the Seru to enter the human world. The Hari of the present reveals the Mist's henchmen are in the last phase of their plan to destroy the world, and in fact, some are below Octum at the Fire Path. The Hari of the future states that a horrible tragedy will shatter Vaughn's hopes. Noah's parents are alive and in Conquerum, but she won't like what she sees, and for Gala, inside Songi, he will see a nightmare of a shadow. He also says that from a bigger perspective, tragedy and salvation are 2 sides of the same coin, and encourages them to each still hold on to hope. As they leave, a massive earthquake suddenly swallows Hari's palace and kills everyone inside. Though, the 3 spirits of Hari now rise before the group, stating this event was also predetermined, and urge them to stay focused on their own mission. As they venture through the Fire Pass, they see the main pillar supporting the town is also crumbling, but also learn these earthquakes have been targeted and deliberate by the Seru. Destroying the Seru trying to topple the town, the Seru uses the last of its power to spitefully turn the underground lava channels into solid ice. Unsure of what long-term impact that will have, they return to a grateful Octum, where the mayor then asks for an item from Vidna. However, when they arrive, they are shocked to find the town is now covered in mist. They observe the town's windmills are also no longer working to blow back the mist, and one of the geothermal energy that froze over from Octum has affected the windmills here. They also learn where a nearby Genesis tree is located and head there next, while noticing the hot springs of Vidna have also gone cold thanks to the magma underground freezing over. Heading to the Genesis tree, they pass by Ratayu, another hot springs town affected not only by the magma freeze but also the mist, but when they reach the Genesis tree they find a strange barrier erected around it. Songi now reveals himself as the one who trapped it, now challenging them all by himself, showing off his new powered-up form. However, he bites off more than he can chew, as the group defeats him and forces him to lower his force field and retreat for now. With the Genesis tree now revived, the mist around Ratayu is cleared, but Vidna is still in peril. Returning to Ratayu, they see the townsfolk uncursed but still miserable, as their lord Saryu has changed ever since a man named Johadi arrived, and he now sacrifices the women of the city to the Seru, calling them the brides of Seru. The murderous oppression of Saryu has them wishing they were dead, or cursed, rather than alive, and there is the rumor he controls Juggernaut, a massive Simsaru, which is an artificially created Seru by humans. They speak to the next girl to be sacrificed, and refusing to allow it, Noah thinks to disguise herself as the next Seru bride in order to get close to Saryu and stop him. As Noah is led away, she is brought before Juggernaut and the mad scientists working to make it grow by feeding it the life force of young women. Noah tries to confront Saryu, but she is quickly paralyzed by the guards, as Terra notifies Meta and Ozma of the danger Noah is in. Breaking into the palace and dashing past the helpless victims of Saryu's cruelty, Gala forces back the beast with a mighty strike, and together they free Noah. Saryu orders their execution as a Seru rises from his shadow to envelop him and attack the party. Defeating him, it turns out the one controlling Saryu was a Sim Seru, and regaining his senses, he quickly rushes to the control panel for Juggernaut and initiates destroying the monster. Saryu thanks the group and mentions that a man named Ohadi gave him the Sim Seru to wear, which took over his mind. From there, he made Juggernaut and sacrificed so many women to it in an effort to make more Juggernauts before the group stopped him. He hands them a key that gives them access to Dohadi's castle, urging them to stop Dohadi and Juggernaut, especially since Dohadi is building a mist generator in the Western Sea. After the surviving brides are returned to their homes, the group marches straight to Dohadi's castle on the seafront. Within, they find the mist generator covering the islands and Dohadi there waiting for them. He takes credit for creating Juggernaut and having a Simseru kill Hari, claiming the Simseru came from Prince Court. Pitting his Simseru against the group, the Rasaru emerge victorious, and while dying, Dohadi spits back that Juggernaut has already been set free and has targeted each of their homes. As they destroy the generator itself, they note the lingering Seru within, and as their own Rasaru speak to it, they ask if that was actually a Rasaru as well. Strangely, Meta, Terra, and Ozma each dodge the question about what that was and what was said between them, but promise all will be made clear at a later time. Returning back, Saryu mentions there is a way to conquer him by means of a flying train out of Octum straight into Callisto Kingdom. As it so happens, Callisto Kingdom is also the heart of Legaian civilization, as it's also where new Seru are born within the city of Urumai. Returning to Octum, the villagers are now safe to live above ground again, and the gondola there is ready to ferry them across the ocean. Using the power of a unique Seru, they quickly travel to Callisto Kingdom, though before they reach the mist, their train is pushed for the remainder of the trip. Crashing into the final depot, they are saved from the wreckage by Kara, and at this time, a floating castle spraying mist down from the sky flies overhead. Gala wonders again how she is able to travel the mist safely, and she reveals she has a good luck charm, not knowing what she actually has as a Rasaru egg on hand. They ask her where she got it from, but she decides to exit the scene before answering the question. Deciding to now visit Seoul, the former entertainment capital of the world, they find among the Seru-filled streets an old warrior named Gaza, who is obsessed with killing the Seru within the city. Gaza directs them to other humans on the upper floors of Seoul above the reach of the mist, and checking it out, they learn more history about the city. Years ago, the city of Seoul was in the middle of a long war with Konkrum, and while Seoul was winning, one day a strange castle appeared out of nowhere, mist began to fall from the sky, and the war ended once the new threat of Seru arrived. Now, the people of Seoul are trapped in paradise, but even that has grown old over the past 10 years. Hearing Kara shouting from a bar, they walk in to see her trying to break a man named Grants out of his depression, as he spends his days drunk and living off the money Kara steals. Noah tries to straighten him out over a misunderstanding, though Vaughn and Gala pull her away before she makes things worse. They later hear the unfortunate story of how Gaza used to be a war hero, but when the mist came he lost his children and grandchildren to Seru, and now spends his days hatefully killing them. They also hear a Genesis tree may be on the roof, and learn that Kara not only steals to support Grants, but also supports the town's orphanage. They check with the local Biran temple, who are safeguarding the Genesis tree, and learn that the old one left behind a seedling that they currently care for. However, when they leave, Gaza is there, furious at their intent to use the Genesis tree and end the Seru that way. They defeat the old man without killing him, but at this time Songi now enters through a portal and curiously snatches away Gaza before exiting quickly again. Before heading out, the group masters the local game arcade, comedy club, fighting arena, and dance club, and encounter a hologram message left by the genius Dr. Usha, where he shares where the Genesis seedling can be planted to drive away the mist. They find a spot in the depths of Seoul, but before they can plant the seedling, Songi arrives to intercept them. He shows them Gaza, who allows the Simseru to possess him, as the Swordmaster attacks the group with a focused fervor. The group overwhelms Gaza and destroys the Simseru attached to him, but his old body is still dying from the strain of battle. They cannot save the Swordmaster, whose strong spirit still wants to fight the Seru, and Terra suggests using his spirit energy to grow the Genesis seedling into a stronger tree. Gaza, feeling his mission in life has failed, agrees to this, and together the group helps Gaza merge with the Genesis seedling and flourish into a tree powerful enough to rid Seoul of mist. As one last gift, Gaza's will gives Vaughn his prized and powerful astral sword, and soon the group meets with a freed Emperor of Seoul who gives them Dr. Usha's password to use later. They hear of another Genesis tree in Buma nearby, and choose to head there next, hearing that Dr. Usha's tower isn't too far from there either. At the same time, in the floating castle above, a woman named Zora observes the group's success and orders the Delilah siblings to handle something called Koru, as Songi looks on. As the group arrives in Buma, they find the town actually has 3 Genesis trees, but like this town, are completely frozen over. Their current power isn't enough to overcome this, and as they focus, they learn the Rosaru eggs within each tree have been taken. They wonder if Kara, who has an egg, knows more, but without any leads, they head elsewhere. Locating Dr. Usha's laboratory, they meet with the doctor himself and catch him up on their tales so far. He explains to them a once peaceful Seru in a nearby ravine that breathes cold named Koru went mad due to the mist and froze over Buma. However, Koru has also been storing volatile energy within itself, and while destroying it would fix Buma, destroying Koru would be like detonating a massive bomb. For this, Dr. Usha developed the time-space bomb, which could neatly destroy Koru, but he needs a fire droplet to build one. To get a fire droplet, the group would need to travel to the home of the Seru, Urumai, and call upon Teague, also called Rem, also called the god of time, in a dream, and he will bestow them one. Arriving at the Urumai ruins, the group finds it interesting there is neither a Genesis tree nor mist here, and venture in as Kara watches from a distance. Within the ruins, they are each put to sleep and made to dream of whatever lies deep in their hearts. For Gala, he dreams of an old memory in Biren Temple with his scheming friend Songi, and creating happiness for others with his pride. For Noah, she sees her parents were actually King Nebular and Queen Minea of Konkrum, though soon after the mist hit, Noah was taken to be hidden in a land untouched by mist. However, the soldier carrying her would collapse trying to deliver her away, when she would be discovered by a female wolf and the Rosaru Terra. For Vaughn, he remembers how his mother died due to complications while giving birth to his younger sister, and the remedy was in the very next town, but they couldn't go because of the mist. Vaughn snuck out to get the remedy, and his father went to rescue him from the mist, but this cost his father his leg, and it was too late for his mother anyway. After all of them finished dreaming, Teague, a half-Seru, half-human, surrounds them with avatars of himself. They learn that Teague separated himself into a human and Seru half, and likewise, the human world is Seru world. For protection, 10 Genesis trees would be in the human world, while a mother Genesis tree would be in the Seru world. A small group of Rosaru would be chosen to govern over the other Seru. However, 1,000 years ago, a rogue Rosaru plotted against Teague, giving Seru to humans and causing chaos with the humans' lust for their power. Teague learned of this and sealed the rogue Rosaru in the eternal dungeon of Rogue. Originally, the mist was produced by the rogue, but the mist covering Legaia now is actually created by humans. To this, Teague sealed Rosaru inside the Genesis trees to help the world should a rogue Rosaru or some other evil threaten the world. After hearing this, Teague gifts the group with a fire droplet, an energy as ancient as when the world was still formed from chaos. Their mission accomplished, the group turns to leave, when suddenly the Simsaru juggernaut comes out to blast apart Urumai before disappearing. After this, Kara now comes out, bargaining that if the group saves Buma and revives his Genesis tree, then she'll give them her Rosaru egg. Agreeing to the deal, they head back to Dr. Usha now, and he wastes no time in fabricating 4 time-space bombs. 1 for opening the ravine Koru was in, and the other 3 for destroying Koru in a controlled manner. After witnessing the power of the bombs firsthand, they split up inside the cave in order to detonate their bombs at the same time. As they get into position, the Delilah's family interrupts their plan on behalf of Zora, and duel each of them one-on-one. Vaughn, Noah, and Gala emerge victorious against their dark counterparts, sending them all tumbling over the edge. Setting the timers on the bombs, they have barely enough time to escape the blast zone of the time-space bombs, as Koru is buried below. However, it turns out not only has Koru barely survived, but also the Delilah siblings, as they resolve to use the last of their strength to merge with Koru and self-destruct with its remaining thermal energy. The group notices this and hurries to defeat Koru one more time before it reaches critical mass, succeeding, and the thermal energy within is instead released to thaw the freeze in the surrounding area. Returning to Buma, now a proper lake town, and reviving the 3 trees at once, the surrounding mist is indeed neutralized, as Kara comes out to thank them, though refuses to give them her Rosaru egg despite their deal. Overhead, they see a group of Sorin, a tribe of humans with Seru wings, fly overhead, and the group thinks that if they also had wings, they could get to the flying castle. Kara returns to them, sheet music in hand, which she explains was a song Grants wrote after hearing her song when they fell in love. Noah promises to make sure Grants is reminded of the song, and returning to Seoul, they have Grants hear the song he wrote for Kara, and hearing that, as well as the mist being clear from Buma, he is reminded of his true love. His spirit rekindled, he decides to straighten himself out and return to Kara and Buma. Kara accepts and forgives him, as the two rediscover their love and share their story with the group. Before the war, Grants was a Sorin warrior who, against Sorin law, fell in love with a human on the surface, Kara. Zora, master of the floating castle, said she would give Kara Seru wings if Grants stole Buma's Rosaru eggs, and he foolishly agreed, giving one to Kara and the other 2 to Zora. Zora lied and kept the eggs without giving him the wings, and after hearing of the deed, the Sorin took Grants' wings and banished him to the surface where he sunk into a 10-year depression. But he doesn't care about that anymore, and wants to now live on the surface with Kara. The group wants his help to meet with the Soren now, and so he hands them his Soren flute, explaining that if they play it, it calls for help to any nearby Soren. Kara now also hands the group her light Rosaru egg, having no need for it anymore. Climbing the Soren's sacred mountain, they play the flute and Soren do arrive, and at first refuse to help the surface dwellers. Gulla points out they are fighting the mist too, and need their help to get to the floating castle to destroy the mist generator there. Considering it, they take them to meet their elder, who after hearing them out, agrees on the joint attack. Floating above the mist level, the group is dropped off safely and rushed inside. Making their way past the mechanics of the castle, they find a throne room with a confrontational Zora within. Clashing with the overlord of the castle, she is defeated, and informs them the stolen Rosaru egg was used a long time ago in order to create the mist generator. The group is surprised to hear Rosaru and Rosaru eggs are used to create the mist generators, but their own Rosaru confirm it, but also say they didn't want there to be a misunderstanding that the Rosaru were creating the mist themselves. Songi then comes in, but not to help Zora, but instead destroy the mist generator and the castle and group along with it. He kills Zora with a single blast, and leaves the party with a mere 6 minutes to escape the plunging castle. Escaping the debris out into the open, the Soren whisk away the group just in time, and returning back to the Soren Elder, he informs them his scouts have learned the location of the final mist generator near Konkrum in a place called the Absolute Fortress. As the group prepares to not only find Noah's parents, but also the final mist generator, they are parachuted into the thick mist over Konkrum. Entering the barren city, they find it curiously organic, as Terra explains their entire city, including the people, are all fused into one giant Simseru. Entering the palace, Noah finds her mother, the queen, still alive, though living a tortured existence, and she urges them to destroy the last generator and destroy the mist. Unfortunately, the means into the Absolute Fortress is a Nemesis gem that no longer exists, but if they were to go back in time where they did, they could obtain one. To do this, she tells Noah to go visit her father and get the Seru Flame from him, which has the energy to travel back to the past. Doing so, they find the king in a similarly tortured state, and he tells her to use it in the Room of Mirrors to travel back in time, for as it turns out, the Simseru around Konkrum has actually caused a warp in space-time, allowing this. Lighting the proper fires, they step into the mystical mirror, and while they travel, they are advised not to compromise their identities in the past and cause undue chaos. They find themselves 12 years in the past, one day before a new weapon will be unveiled to change the war. They encounter young Zeto and Dohati when they were part of the royal court, the Delilah siblings when they were part of the royal guard, and Zora when she was the royal priestess. The next day, the king and queen's son, Prince Court, is demonstrating his new weapon for the war. As they demonstrate, a young Zeto explains the mist will make their own Seru many times more powerful thanks to an elixir from the home world of the Seru. However, when too much mist is being produced, Court and Jet struggle to shut it off, causing the machine to explode and the volunteer to be overdosed on mist, turning him into a powerful berserk monster. It breaks out, and with the mist free, other citizens are becoming infected too, and despite being in the past, the group opts to try and help shut down the mist here. They discover a hole in the lab where Rosaru eggs are coming out, and Terra explains the hole leads to the sealed Rogue's Tower, and the eggs are the alter egos of Rogue. While they are Rebel Rosaru, they have the same properties as Rosaru. While they can destroy this early mist generator easily, it's more important to cut the source of the mist off at the source, and that means destroying Rogue. Diving towards Rogue's Tower, they observe a piece of Rogue break off and fly past them, and learn that while Rogue Tower is part of Serukai, the tower itself is the body of a Rogue. Traversing the maze-like tower, they find and crush the crystalline Rogue, and return victorious back to Konkrum. They inform the king of their victory, leaving a bitter Prince Court to reflect on his failure. The king is surprised they ask for something as common as a Nemesis gem, and though Court strongly opposes giving them one, the group obtains it anyway, as Court leaves angrily. The group now prepares to return to their own time, when Noah pauses to realize Court is actually her older brother, while at the same time, Jet, Zora, and Court examine the piece of Rogue that fell back earlier. He declares his intent to continue his mist experiments, only this time he'll manufacture his own mist, and begins constructing a generator in the Absolute Fortress, wondering how to combine this and Ratayu's giant Seru. Back in the present, they return to the Queen, who confirms Court is her brother, and reveals to them 2 Seru remained in Konkrum. One was transformed into the Simseru, fed on the mist and grew to engulf the entire city, and the other is likely a fragment from the evil Rogue. It imparted incredible knowledge to fuel Court's dark ambitions, allowing him to build a mist generator with Rosaru and Rosaru eggs, and design the Simseru. Noah promises again to destroy the final mist generator, using the Nemesis gem to destroy the gates to the Absolute Fortress. Deep underground, they find a lake full of concentrated mist from the fortress above, and a sleeping juggernaut within it, but choose to bypass them for now. They discover the lab of Jet, who displays he has the ability to read minds and knows they visited the past and met there. He reveals that Mist is the key to human evolution, as they have made stronger Mist and even Simseru. He shows off a Simseru he made even more powerful than Rogue, and with that, both forces clash. The group defeats the vile scientist, but not before he claims seeing a future of despair for each of them. They reach the massive mist generator soon after, but when they prepare to destroy it, Noah suddenly reels over in pain and tries to force out the voice of her brother Court out of her head. Court now approaches all of them, saying he intentionally intended to lure them out to obtain their Rasaru, but now he's more focused on simply killing them all. He approaches them confidently, but the teamwork and bonds of the trio surprise and overwhelm the mastermind of the mist. As he falls, he tells them the mist generator is linked to his life force, so when he dies, so too does the generator. He tumbles over the edge, plunging into the depths and sinking into the mist lake alongside Juggernaut. At the same time, the generator indeed crumbles on its own, as the rest of the fort is likewise self-destructing. With only 15 seconds left on the clock, Kara opens a way through the pipeline to lead them out where Grant is there to help them as well. His father loaned him wings for now, but he intends to return them and live out the rest of his days on the surface with Kara. They split off after the rescue, as the group rejoices that the mist is finally gone. Eagerly returning to Conquerum to see her parents saved, Noah is shocked to find all of Conquerum has suddenly vanished. Ozma believes that the Simseru that engulfed the city was too large and unstable and could not live without the mist, so when the mist disappeared, it quickly died and Conquerum with it. Noah quickly blames Terra for withholding that information, even though Gala points out the king and queen likely knew the outcome when they had the party destroy the mist anyway, so Terra isn't at fault. Rain now falls as Noah mourns her loss, and the group decides to head back to Rim Elm together. The group's astonishing deeds are celebrated, as Vaughn is easily recognized as a warrior and hero by the village now. Everyone in Realm Elm is inspired to live fuller and work harder now, especially May, who is overjoyed to see Vaughn again and shows him that she now runs a tailoring business. At the same time, Noah is still mourning the loss of her family she just met and directing those negative feelings towards Terra. Gala still has unfinished business with Sanghi as well, but just then, they hear Sanghi is calling for them at the gate. He congratulates them on their victory, but then sneak attacks them and the villagers, declaring they will become food for Juggernaut. As it turns out, when Court fell, he combined with the Simseru Juggernaut, saving Court's life and also unlocking more power for Juggernaut. As Juggernaut is actually around the corner, the three Rasaru form a shield to protect the party, as tendrils come out of Juggernaut to turn Rim Elm into a Seru town just like Conquerum. Everyone is now fused to Juggernaut, as he strikes back an impatient Noah and protects Juggernaut's head with his own barrier, stating Juggernaut will grow and swallow the whole world in time. He has no interest in fighting the party over it, as he is more interested in now conquering the Serukai next. In fact, in Sanghi disrupting the Serukai, the Genesis trees have lost their powers, and soon they as Rasaru will die. The only way to Serukai is through Urumai, and so their mission to stop Sanghi is clear. Arriving at Urumai, they call out to Teague, who hears them and opens a way to the Serukai. In the other world, they witness the Great Genesis Tree, from which the power of Serukai and all Rasaru flow. They also see a Simseru attached to it and sucking all of its life force out, and walk in on Sanghi actively absorbing all that energy for himself. With his Rasaru and Simseru combination, he views himself as a god on par with Teague. As he ascends into a monstrous form, the group defeats the Vain Monk one last time, and as he falls, he writhes in pain as his Rasaru separates from him. He cannot exist without a Seru and Serukai, and explodes, cursing everyone and all Seru. Unfortunately, this does not help the Great Genesis Tree, as it's now too weak to be revived and is still dying. Doing their best to pray and send their energy to help, Hari makes a surprise appearance, revealing that the god of time, Rem, is also known as Teague, and therefore the prophecies of Rem are also the words of Teague. They explain that the fate of the Great Genesis Tree is to die, and there is nothing they can do about that. What they can do is ease the process and make the energy last long enough for the group to return to their world and defeat Juggernaut. Borrowing new strength from the Great Genesis Tree, they return to Mount Rikaroa nearby Rim Elm and prepare for the true final battle. Gathering their power together, they shatter the shield around Juggernaut and figure the best way to defeat the monster is from within, and so enter inside through its mouth. Within, they find all the townsfolk painfully merged with Juggernaut and struggling to hold on, and further in, inside the literal heart of the beast, they find Court similarly merged. Court has no intention of going back to being a human, nor does he have any sympathies for humanity, viewing himself as the ultimate lifeform now. As the final forms of the Rasaru, Meta, Terra, and Ozma unleash their might upon Court, Vaughn, the bold hunter from a small village, Noah, the forgotten princess of a fallen kingdom, and Gala, the proud monk with a deep heart, succeed in destroying the mad ambitions of a scorned prince trying to play the role of god. As Court falls, Terra announces the age of Seru is now also over. Separating from their partners, the three Rossuru use the last of their energy to thank the trio and entrust the future to them, as they break apart Juggernaut cleanly, saving the town and its citizens. As the game ends, Vaughn has many choices of what to do next with his life, but this time he chooses something purely for himself. Opting to now see a mist-free world and the fruits of his liberation, Vaughn sets out to make a long journey, though his sweetheart Mage chooses to accompany him for this adventure as well. Rim Elm learns to rebuild itself, as it's also shared that Rossuru chose to allow Court to be reborn as a baby that now Noah takes care of as her own family. For Gala, now that he has shed his Seru, he is welcomed back with open arms by Master Zopu in the Biran Monastery, continuing his role as Master Teacher. Kara and Grants continue to live their life with renewed love going forward, as Saryu continues to atone for his crimes, yet still discovers love for himself and from his people. The world of Legaia is forced to live on its own strength going forward, but humanity has proven that with hope and love, life will flourish with their second chance. Legend of Legaia has enjoyed the success of selling over 970,000 copies worldwide.